This is very much the Ireland today and the experience today for travellers is the lack of trust by healthcare providers, the lack of culturally appropriate service. I've said it already at some stage. We treat everyone the same, but not everyone is the same. I've seen a case where in Navan, where we're from, an older traveller went into a health setting and he was given a form to fill out, and because he couldn't read or write and he was too embarrassed to say it, he pretended he left his glasses outside the car and went to get them. It brought him home. It's very, very real, and it's those kind of things. For example, I remember just recently in North Dublin, and I'm very conscious I don't want to name the site in the particular area, but a traveller woman went into our health service and said, you missed an appointment, you didn't show up. But the postman has stopped delivering it to our site because there's issues around, he feels he's not safe and that. So it's those kind of things that are getting missed. And it's looked like, going back to the state's response, you're the problem. Peter, you didn't bother turning up for your appointment. But the reason Peter didn't turn up for his appointment is because the postman didn't deliver the appointment in the first place. It's the whole social determinants that needs to be, and again, Jim, lack of engagement with service providers with travellers and organisations. Jim was saying the importance of that. And I was listening to Jim talking about those representation. That was a deliberate representation, because where is the point in having traveller organisations sitting at a table talking to themselves? It can only go so far, but it won't go to serve what we're all in it and getting paid to do, is to serve the community. So that's really important, and we've seen that happen in some places, some don't. Again, guys, I want to prepare you for this, okay? 40% in the study, 41% of travellers had complete trust in health professionals. 53% of travellers worried about experiencing unfair treatment. So before I even go in here, I'm worrying, will I be treated fairly or not because of who I am, my ethnicity, a traveller, okay? Over 50% of travellers had concerns of quality of care. Over 50% of travellers have experienced discrimination in their lives. That's what travellers said in the study, guys. But what about this one? This is not Pa Ryan saying it. This is not Jim O'Brien saying it. This is not Harvey Pint saying it. This is health services saying it. 66, believe the 66, 7 out of 10 health providers agreed that travellers experience discrimination in their use of health services. Think about that. As I said, this is not me, Jim, or any. This is health providers. So that's the reality for travellers. I'm moving along. Unfortunately, in our area of work, I work in the area of mental health. Now, mental health, guys, is an absolute minefield. Don't be under any illusion, okay? Youth mental health, LGBT mental health, men's mental health, women's mental health, perinatal, infant, it's a minefield. You think you know it naively. If you think you know it, tomorrow something will land on your desk and you're like, I need to go away for 2 or 3 days and start reading and get up to it. It's really a minefield. If you look at it here, FMD, like people want to look at the frequent mental distress, that's what I was saying earlier. You're waking up to, there's an issue in the school, there's an issue trying to get work, it's that constant stress. You hear the saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. And I've reacted out in the school, for example, and people are looking, well, that's a travelling man, he's holding a show. You know, he's the issue. But what's happening underneath? What triggered that response? What's triggering all those things? It's that constant, frequent mental distress. And pardon me for using words I shouldn't. This day is going to fucking go wrong, and anything that will go wrong because you're living that constant, frequent distress. You look at these stats, 7 times higher suicide for travelling men, and 5 times higher for travelling women. Let's be honest here, guys, and let's call a spade a spade. Any community experiencing that, there will be a critical response straight away. Straight away there'll be this can't be happening, we need to react, and we need to sort this out. Moving on along, guys. Again, that's our approach to the work, because as I said, we can't sit down and decide, you know what, we're going to do this and that. It's very much underpinned by community development. It's empowerment for travellers, it's that collective piece, and it's the whole social determinants. And you need to go for a jog, a walk, you need to take a bath. I live in a trail, I live in an overcrowded site. There's no access to green area, which we've seen in a lot of sites. So, again, now, I've really gone through that, and I'm very conscious of the audience I'm speaking to because it's wide and breadth. But when you come to spaces like this, it's notorious. There was one sitting there. Can you put your phones on silent? Can you, if you need to take a call, take it out? What I'm asking all of you here is, and this includes everyone that has a phone, please take out your phones and go to Google and please type in youngparties.ie. You don't have to, but it'd be great if you could. Even on Garda Chicago. I'd like you just to spend a minute or two hope there's good connection here, Jim. Oh, what a time. Sorry. So guys, basically, if you can access this here, this was a piece of work that we had done. We done focus groups in 2015, and what was identified in those focus groups was that young travellers felt that there wasn't a service available online that had specific and appropriate mental health information for travellers. It was very mainstream. The language, overwhelming. Travellers most times wouldn't use that kind of language. So what was identified is that there needed to be a targeted piece. So what we went away with was, we developed our Young Parties Mind Your Nuck. Anyone in the room that doesn't know what nuck is, it's the camp word, our language for your head. So mind your nuck. And just for people's information, the word party is our camp word for travel. So we use words that travellers resonate with, images that travellers resonate with. Are people in the website? Are some people in? Yeah. Okay. You see those issues that's listed under each section? The focus group the young travellers had identified, these were the issues that were impacting on their mental health. So we went away and we developed the traveller-specific issues, and we tailored the website, as I said, to young travellers. What came up in the focus group is, and this is not unique to the travellers in the room, and I feel I don't even have to justify this. What came up in the focus groups was, if I'm concerned about something that's bothering me, or I'm concerned about a family member, I don't want to go to my father and mother. They have enough stress going on, there's enough things going on for them. I might go to my older brother. I have a good uncle that I get on with, and auntie. So we decided, oh, there's a space here. We need to develop a space for supporting a young traveller. So Jim is concerned about, so he can go on here and click on this and he can see information to support a young traveller. Also, guys, I don't know if you can see it here, if you're in crisis, because if you're in crisis, you're not going to be spending time clicking through here. There's a section there if you're in crisis. It came up there, but I left school early. I can't read this stuff supporting the young traveller. Oh, the literacy that we've been so used to, that's been so much of a barrier for travellers. What did we do? We developed a little green aircon. Is anyone still in it? I was hoping you'd still be in it, guys. There's a little air icon. If someone can press on it, please, and on one of those issues and click on the air icon. Please. Come on, everyone, get back into it. Come on.
I can't get in it.
We've been so used to being told, leave off your phones and put away your phones. I'm giving you permission, you know. If someone happens to be in it, can you press the air icon?
The internet seems to be really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
We'll figure it out. Someone's will look it up.
Okay. So the air icon is basically, it explains each section of the issues and what's on it. What's very, very important to say is, you can be anywhere in Ireland. You can be in a halter site in Galway. You can be in Cork coming up on a train. You have access, travellers have access to this website, this important information on their phones. And given that we're a young population, it's really, really important, this work. Again, what I would say is, it's the targeted piece with a view to mainstream. We don't want to segregate a piece. What we want is, we want travellers to access the mainstream. But also, what's interesting is, and I'd like feedback from people that has looked at it, and then the feedback we're getting from travellers is, this is good, this is brilliant, this is what's needed, it's accessible. 80%. So, brilliant. So I'm sitting in a trailer, caravan, mobile home, whatever you call it, earphones in, I'm conscious of my family up there, and I can listen to this. I have that privacy to listen with the literacy issue. Again, what I was saying is, this is designed for travellers anywhere in Ireland. But what's interesting is, the feedback we've got from travellers is that it's really positive, it's really accessible, there's travellers in the images, there's traveller voices on the air icon, it's really appropriate. There's nothing exotic on this that's not on the mainstream. It's what's on the mainstream has been taken and it's been tailored and it's been traveller approved, and it's still the same information delivered in an accessible way for travellers. What's interesting for us is HSC people have come to me and said to me, this really informs our work. So people here that's working with travellers, I would really encourage you after today, if it was only one person that you're working with or that you see around, please let them know about this website. Please direct them, if it's only one person, and that will grow and grow and grow. I'm very conscious of time, and I want to leave a bit of time and space for questions, comments, answers. Come at me, but please, boys, I have a 7-month-old baby at home. Thank you.
Okay, so again, just like what Pa said, thank you very much for a very powerful presentation. We open up to the floor. Just whatever what people want to say, a question or maybe a comment. Denise? Would you on the lights?
My name is Denise Gal, I'm the chairman.
Thanks.
Just coming from the traveller mental health, especially around would you not agree that having time can do a lot, and it's great that you're putting mind and look. I mean, the logistical area that some of these young people live in, pathways is fine, but when they get to, we'll say there's a huge difference. I'll give you an example. There's a huge difference in bread. And a young man went to the doctor only yesterday and has an appointment for mental health services next Thursday. You take a young man that lives in Chiong or a more rural area, he doesn't have that quick access to services. And I can't be looking at, or the national identities around travellers, are they looking at quicker pathways into these services?
I think it's fair to acknowledge that across the country, what might be an issue in one area, it might be an issue in another.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of having the local traveller projects in those areas that knows the issues, knows the local issues. What we have always been highlighting is equity is really, really important, and equality. As I said, not everyone that's going into the service is the same, but what should be the same is the access. There should be no issues around the access. If you broaden down, if we be specific with mental health, and what I've seen is, and I've raised this numerous of times, the catchment area. Okay, I live in a place where there's a lot of travellers that's accessing the local village, say for example. I want to get access to a mental health service as such. But because I live in this area, I can't go outside because it's a catchment area, it's the address. Yeah. The fear of being seen by other travellers, that's the internal thing. We're not naive here. There's stigma still around mental health. We would love to have those conversations. What we're seeing is, it's starting to change. The conversations have been had. I'm looking at this room here. There's young women, there's men, there's all different, having the conversations that you wouldn't have 20, 30 years ago. But what we're saying is, from a national organisation, is we want travellers across the country to have access to education, access to employment, accommodation, all those things. Because I think that's suicide prevention. I really think that suicide prevention, if you have access to all those things, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be as dominant on travellers. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think suicide prevention and crisis intervention are two completely different things.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
And then I just have one other question around the ethnic identifier, especially in government, especially in central government identification. So the county councils have all added an ethnic identifier. it's only specific to travellers.
Mm.
It says on their form, do you identify as an Irish traveller? Yes, no, or prefer not to say. If you compare that to the UK, where an ethnic identifier applies on all government forms and applies across all theirs, so they have Indian, they have Muslim, they have Irish traveller, English traveller. There's about 12 blocks. Is there work being done around the identity?
Oh my God.
For everybody rather than just traveller, non-traveller.
Oh my God, okay. This is one of the biggest pieces of work that's been lobbied for the last 20 plus years.
More
The collection of ethnic equality monitoring, the importance of that. It's how it's being collected, it's how it's being asked. The census is a great example. You look at all those, it's self-involuntary. For example, I sit here, I'm a service provider, and Christy is sitting across from me. Christy, I'd like to ask you a few questions, yeah. What's your name, where do you live, are you a traveller? Christy is sitting across from me, how do you ask me that? Jesus, do I say yes or no? Hi Christy, I'd like to ask you a few questions, we ask these of everyone. The way I've just done that. That is because in that example, I have undergone the ethnic equality monitoring training that's needed. It's no use having an ethnic identifier the way you've described it if they're not asking it, collecting it, analysing it, storing it, and only used for the sole purpose it's being collected for.
Yeah.
That is the whole point. Yeah, Susan.
First of all, thank you very much for this very, very powerful
Oh, yeah.
presentation. Just in relation to discrimination, I mean, and its impact on traveller mental health, there was a report there very recently done within South County Dublin, Ballyfermot and Clondalk, and where they found that for them that the root cause from that report of suicide was discrimination and racism. I suppose I'd be interested maybe to find out, just even within the room, the local area, like, because when we say discrimination, I suppose we might be thinking, you know, people calling names, or when in actual fact discrimination, particularly within the traveller community, is felt at every level. And particularly, I suppose, one thing that I would have noticed, just working within the area, stuff like trying to book weddings, trying to book communities, things that I suppose in every, for the set, I mean, I'm a member of the community myself, but I mean, I've been involved with travellers for a very, very long time. But I mean, the likes of weddings, it's a stressful situation for everyone, but then adding all that additional stress, I mean, I've seen women, and I'm sure women in here might be able to speak to that if anyone.
Yeah, can I just say a few things?
Okay, just say who you are.
Yeah.
I'm Catherine O'Connor. I'm the Primary Healthcare Coordinator for Wicklow, County Wicklow. And
Can everyone hear Catherine?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
As a traveller and as a Primary Healthcare Coordinator, I wouldn't have noticed it maybe a few years back, but I've noticed now in the past how much discrimination I'm being discriminated against. Like my daughter got married last May, and she was engaged for 12 months, and we were 12 months looking for a reception, a hotel, to hold her wedding. We went to loads of places, me and the boy's mother and her son and my daughter, and given dates, and as soon as we walk in the door, found out you're a traveller, the hotels were either closing down or they were getting done up. This was what we were hearing. So my husband took it upon himself that I'm going, he said. He emailed this hotel, he said he was going, he said he was getting it, and that was it. Now, if you met my husband probably out, you'd probably think he was a settled person. So he goes in with my daughter, the two of them went in, I sat in the car, and she showed him around and sat down, and as soon as he came in to fill in the paperwork, she was trying to get out of it. She didn't know which way to get out of the situation she was in. So she said, the fiance has to be here. After saying in the email that he didn't have to be there. So I said, that's fine. Now, it was an hour and a half drive. We rang the parents. We said, we'll have him here in an hour. He was there within the hour. She rang my husband then, when we left the hotel, to say, I mightn't be able to meet you now when the fiance comes, but we'll have someone to meet you. Is that okay? That's fine. Back in the door. We went back in the door at 3 o'clock, along with the son-in-law and his daughter, and the three of them were left sitting in the lobby until 5 o'clock that evening, and not one person would come out. At the end, the barman came out and said, I'm really sorry, and I know it's not right what's happening, but there's nothing we can do. But to walk out of that hotel at 5 o'clock, that was there. Now, we did take him to court, the doctor took him to court. It wasn't about the money, it was about, he never experienced it. He said he never experienced that much. He said he was completely devastated. So that was one incident. So then I go to the the International Women's Day in my local area, out in Rathloo. Sits down at the table, there was 6 people there, there was 4 refugees, and there was 2 Irish. And I knew from the minute I sat down that the one at the top of the table, the Irish person, would prefer if I had sitting somewhere else. So the conversation comes up anyway about what the people thought about when they came to Ireland, and she asked them how long he is here, and they're lovely, they said since November. And she said, what have you felt like in Ireland and coming to Ireland? And the very first word they said was freedom. We are free to go into the shops, we are free to go into pubs, we are free. So I had to say something. Well, I said, good for you. I said, because I'm Irish, I'm 40 years here, and I'm not free to walk into the corner shop at the bottom of the road because I'm going to be followed around.
True, yeah.
And that person at the top of the table, I went for a coffee, she did not like me saying the bad things that was happening. She wanted me to paint it as it's all wonderful, we're very accepting. Yes, we're accepting of other people, but we're not accepting of travellers. So then I was put down. Now there's 2 girls, no, you're last.
Yeah.
There's 2 girls here, 2 girls here, Margaret and Anne-Marie, who was discriminated in our shopping centre.
I'll go first.
Okay, you like to go first.
Hi everyone, my name is Nan, I'm a part of Virtual Travellers Group in Wicklow, and I'll be talking about experience of discrimination I felt in a shopping centre by a guard. Me and my friends went on a Sunday, normal Sunday, went to the shopping centre, not a bother, got food. There was a few lads messing, we don't bother with them, they're a lot younger than us, so we'd have no business with them. Went outside and came back in, and a little boy was getting arrested. And we said we passed no heed. Traveller boy, we said we'd walk on up the stairs, pretend we never noticed nothing, because we knew if we said that, they were going to come down on us anyway. Went up the stairs, and the guard shouted across the whole shopping centre that we had to leave. So we kept proceeding, we said we never done that, we kept proceeding up the stairs. He met a security guard follow us. Security guard kept saying, you may leave, wouldn't listen to anything we were saying, you may leave, you have to leave. We just kept trying to tell him we didn't do nothing wrong, I don't care. Said if you don't leave you're getting arrested. Said I couldn't get arrested for doing nothing, mind my own business. Guard followed us up and he kept saying, oh, I hears this every week, you're not with them. It's the same thing every week marking all the travellers with one brush. I said I wasn't with them, I said I'm nearly 20, I have no business hanging around with younger kids. He said I'm hearing that off everybody, it's just an excuse, I get rang here every week. I said I don't be here every week, and you have to know that if you're here every week. He carried on that bad with us. The guy out of the cinema had to come over and explain that we were not doing anything, and that we were actually like just having a day out, and we weren't a part of that group. And he still did not want to leave us there, and we still fought to stay.
Margaret. I was there. My name is Margaret O'Connor, and I was.
Sorry, just can everyone hear?
Sorry. My name is Margaret O'Connor, and I was there that day as well. But I was actually had to be put out of the cinema, out of the shopping centre, because obviously the man from the cinema came out and talked to the guards, and they were eventually let stay. But there was no settled person around to come and be like, no, they're okay. No. I could not defend myself, that no matter what I said, they were just like, no, we hear that every week. And he was using very vile language. I was just like actually screaming at me, and I had not done anything wrong, and just put me out. And then I had actually had tickets to the cinema, and I couldn't go back in and watch the movie.
Jimmy, may I just, before that person gives a question, just the experience that Kathleen, the 2 girls described. It's very important to know. This is the Ireland today, our young travellers, and they come up in our focus groups. Before they access a cinema, a shop, a hotel, they're worrying about that before it happens. It's also equally to remember, guys, because I'm conscious there's members of the Garda Síochána here and others, there is good people in those spaces. Please don't think we're all happy.
Just on that, no person should feel like that being treated by the guards. And if that's the situation, the Guard Ombudsman will take complaint or any guard who treats people and they feel like they're being victimised because of their background or
And the last
sorry to hear your stories. And if it's a case that you feel strong enough, you should go to the Garda Ombudsman, make contact.
And the last point I would make, guys, is that I take on board your point, but I'd really like to see anti-race and discrimination training for all guards because there's people here that's best placed to give that training, deliver that training. It can't be just left to the traveller to report, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes what's happening...
You do come to
Yeah,
the Garda College and
that's-
you raise awareness.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get an hour going away, but the point of making it, there's local stuff you can do with your own units, you know what I mean? Because sometimes what happens is, why should I report it? It can go nowhere, do you know,
Yeah.
so sometimes you need that both ways. The last point I would make, Kathleen, is the frustration part when you were talking about those people that were non-Irish,
Yeah.
that felt they were welcomed in Ireland.
Yeah.
We must remember, before any refugees ever came to Ireland, these issues
We're still there,
trapped.
yeah. But,
So
but
it's-
Pa, not stop
No,
you talking.
I-
You don't even notice it. It's just
Yeah.
when you went into a role and you're working every day, and then it happened, and you're
Yeah.
like, you're sitting there, and this other person actually left the table. She was very she didn't want to hear me,
Yeah.
so she moved away. She pretended she was sick. She went home
Yeah.
because I wasn't painting everything out to be lovey-dovey.
Mm.
And
No,
and then
hear you.
we did it. We don't feel free, like so. It's
Yeah.
not
No,
fair. We all
no.
should feel the same.
No, what the point I'm making, Kathleen, is I understand the frustration, but where you direct that frustration is really important, okay? Because of the state policies that has failed travellers, it's there that the responsibility lies. It's not because no one should experience racial discrimination. Let you be a traveller, LGBT, let you be in Romania, doesn't matter who you are. So that's the point I'm making. We must not oppress against.
I wasn't.
You know
I was
that.
just
I
telling
just
you.
want-
I
no,
wasn't.
I
I
just
was
wanted
just
to-
telling you
No,
like,
she wasn't.
that I
I just
wasn't.
wanted
and
to-
she
yeah.
was
Can
leaving it.
I just ask Kathleen for a second on what she said? Did you end up getting a hotel in
No,
Ireland?
I had to go to Belfast to a traveller man who runs a hotel in Belfast, in
It's-
Banbridge.
Yeah, it's
For my daughter's wedding.
just to say quickly before we move on to Christine, because I want to sort of structure, there's a number of people are interested in this topic that we're talking about today. In 2023, it's what travellers have to do is go over 200-300 miles out of the local area where they were born because they're members of the travel community.
Or get a member to set the community to ring on their behalf and then have the stress of what happens when I go.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
And also, just to finish, like, local infrastructure, Great Travellers Community Development Group, Wicklow Travellers Group, the Primary Healthcare, we have good structures here in County Wicklow, and building that relationship on one thing and one thing only, and that's trust. Someone made a comment earlier on, if you go to the shop and buy a bag of flips, there's bound to be one or two bad ones. That's in every sector and every walk of life. I have to use the words as, when someone has authority, and it could be coming from any service, what I don't like is abuse of that authority. And especially when it's like you're rising someone to be someone that they're not, and then the thread is up and then the barrier is up. I'm not going to talk to you. Christine, you want to come in? I'm just going to bring Christine in herself. Okay?
You can go ahead then.
You want to go
Just a
there?
very quick reflection on the two girls in Ireland.
Sorry, just say who you are
Sorry,
first.
Stephen Mooney, I'm a community development worker with Wicklow Travellers Group. So the girls actually they work with me in the youth groups, and I knew by them that Monday morning there was something up. So very quickly I did speak with the girls. I also spoke with the young boys that were involved in the incident, and I did take it. I went to the guard station and I spoke with the who did I speak to? I went to speak to the I can't think of the lead guard's name down there, and it was passed to his underhand, and I have never ever been spoken to the way I was spoken to by that guard in that station. And all I was trying to do was stand up for them. So we do try and voice it, and I mentioned the word a form of discrimination is what I said to the guard, and I have it in writing, and her response to me was completely unacceptable, and she phoned me back to the guard that was on duty that day, and I said I was quite happy to speak to him, but I felt I needed to address with her because I followed the process that we've been told to follow. But because I was sticking up for them and because I wasn't present in the moment, they wouldn't take what I was saying. And they felt that it had to come from the parents of the children that were involved. And the parents of those children didn't want to speak because they just said, look, there's going to be nothing done about it, really. If they won't speak to you, they certainly aren't going to speak to us. So we did follow the process. And this, again, isn't a stab at all the guards because we have many great guards and we work with a lot of them, and we do. But it's just when we try and follow the process, and nothing is done, whether it be a established person or a traveller, we're up against the wall all the time, and it is getting harder.
Christine, to say who you are?
No. I just want to say, like, even on those two girls' situation that happened in Arthur on that day, like, that shouldn't have happened. Catherine's situation that happened, like, with the hotel, as Catherine said, she thought because her parents was left off to be a traveller. At the end of the day, it's all about mental health. Like, I'm sure Catherine's mental health was affected when she was sitting in the car just because she was a member of the travelling community. Like, I think personally myself as well for being on this meetings, I think it's essential to mention like how important that these meetings and mental health for the travelling community and for all around. But me personally myself, I don't feel that, I feel myself that the children is actually getting younger suffering with mental health from the travelling community. That's my personal opinion, because of the discrimination and what they come up against on a daily basis. Like, who's to say that you have to have a certain appearance to be a traveller? Like, are you just being discriminated because you look like a traveller? Who's to say that you have to be turned away from shops? You have to be, like, I think unless you're a traveller yourself, who he is Ireland, you can't understand how much that discrimination actually affects your mental health on a daily basis. I think that's, me personally myself, when I can speak, I'm a primary healthcare worker with for the last 15 years, I can honestly say, like, we're speaking in groups a lot of the time, and there's probably around 13 out of the 16 in our group that suffers from mental health, all because of discrimination. And because of these groups that started up on the mental health, and Liz O'Brien is the coordinator, she's gone now, Catherine has taken over her position. And thanks to yourself and to the rest of the ones that's heavily involved in the mental health, like, I want to say thanks very much for having these, because they are quite essential within the travel community, and also to give an outlook to the second community for to listen in that what discrimination actually does to travellers' mental health. Now, as you said, like, all guards are not, they're not against travellers, you know, as we said, we have quite a good relationship enough with the guards within our area. But we're hearing horror stories every day of the week of the excessive force that's used on members of the travel community, plus on our youth. Like the incident that happened with Sissy and Anne down after that day, sorry Jim for the deliberate on it.
No, you're right.
There was one of the security guys and one of the guards that resuscitated the young lad, 14 years of age, that much. They left marking on their necks and he collapsed to the ground. Are we going to have these incidents where we're not going to be speaking up, like, just for, like, just to keep our mouth closed? That's why I think it's got to do with more parents coming forward. And especially, I have to say also, within the education system, travelling children are being discriminated against extensively.
Yeah, I thought, and I'll wrap up that point, you're finished on the education system. Guys, some of you might be aware, and we were certainly aware of it, and we raised it in the Oireachtas, and we've raised it at senior policy level. The reduced timetables. It's designed to support children with behavioural issues. What we've seen from the data is there's a high representation of traveller children on that.
Yeah.
Now, you're telling me that that's not ethnic profiling?
We have a segregated traveller school in Bray.
Again,
The only one in the country. Our traveller children are segregated.
well, again, that's local areas. I wouldn't be in favour of that, to be honest.
or me either.
I would definitely not be in
I
favour
can
of that.
honestly say I went to this all traveller school in Bray, and for me, personally myself, I feel that why is our children, just because we're members of the travelling community, can't go into our local schools like everybody else? Like as they're saying, every travelling child has a right to an education. That's what we're saying.
It's all discrimination. That's how far it is. We're still
sorry.
segregation.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just say, I know, you wouldn't know the sort of the Bray side of it. There is an all-only travelling school in 2023. It's not a local issue because it's not a local school.
Okay.
Right? It goes into a lot of Dunleary right down.
Yeah.
And I can say to you that beyond our authority, which we are only Bray Travelling School the group, there are senior people that's looking at that. Right? I can't as a member of the travel community come out and lobby against it because it's a conflict of interest. And there's many parents. I mean, it has 58 travelling children on its road. A small organisation like Bray Travel is in it.
But then years ago, like 25 I
went to it.
Yeah, I know, I went to it myself. But what I'm saying is the buses came and picked them up and put them in the caravan. In this day and age, as we said, all travellers are in housing. They're getting the travelling children into the housing. They're getting the parents of the travelling children into the housing. Why should we still be segregated against by being in travelling school, put our children into the housing?
And as I say, and it's not, look, I'm not here to open up the topic on one particular issue. Education is very, very important. But I can say to you, there's no one better than myself, and travellers would know this, that a travel-only school is like going back to South Africa in the apartheid days, where black for one and white for the other. I'm totally. But we've got to be very, very careful because of the comfortability of parents knowing that the child is going to be picked up at a certain time.
I know.
And they're going to be,
Jim, tell me this, is that not like, is that your choice to want to bring your child to a travel school? Or is that so? That's your choice.
I agree with what I'm saying.
That's not a thing that you have to
But
do.
the point is, it should not be an available choice. Travelers, no traveller, there's no traveller segregation of any child.
yeah, I'm a firm believer of an integration. Sorry, can we just have, I want all of this. Yeah, Denise, I don't want all of this, such important issues that we're talking about, right? I don't want this to turn into just one topic. The overall topic is what we're talking about here. It's what young travellers and travellers in general in 2023 have to go through something like their elders went through 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Jim, what I would say is, I've reared 3 sons. They all identify as traveller. Boys, I'm non-traveller. My sons have never faced the discrimination that the other girls in this room face. Never.
That's because they've never mixed the travellers.
No, they didn't mix with travellers, they were brought up with travellers, and that's not fair to say. They have traveller family. They don't face the discrimination that the girls face. That I have never had an incident of where my sons come into that.
Can I say,
Now, that is a lot to do with their name,
Denise,
their parents and where they live.
Denise.
Yes, I get that. But what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say to you is something to come back to what this girl said up here about the appearance of travellers, about this, that, and the other. The discrimination it's before it's out of people's mouths, it's already in their heads. Why is it that children that are of mixed traveller aren't facing the same discrimination?
simple. I'm just giving you my opinion. No, sorry, can I just answer? I can only give my personal experience as a traveller man, right? When I was born into this world, I was discriminated against.
Yes.
Because that's when you start. You don't know it obviously as a baby, but as you're growing up in life, I came from a community where it wasn't until the age of 10 or 11 where suddenly, oh, that's what I am. Because why was I going through a mainstream school, not one, but 2, and I had to fight my way through, and I couldn't understand. And then at 11 or 10, that's why I got a black eye. That's why I got a cut lip. That's why my desk was always at the back of the teacher, and the rest of the settled pupils were in front. Because their perception was Jim is a traveller, he has no Madison blood, and he's not going to be here long. And that's why it was a failed institution. Yes, slowly we're starting to see the rights of that. But that's the type of discrimination that I'm talking about. There is that sad, it's sad for us to say, hide your identity.
And that's
Why
exactly it.
should you have to hide your identity?
Yes.
Now, the pleasing thing that we're starting, I would have known, and some travellers in this room would have known, we have surgeons, we have Gardaí, members of the travel community, but they've hidden their identity.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, last year, one Facebook page came out, a traveller, male, along with his mother, celebrating he's a member on Garda Síochána. That went through the roof. But how about all the missing? How about all the people that had to hide their identity? How about the people that your best friend next door, you're a settled person, but can you ring this on behalf of my daughter? Come on, I mean, 2023, 2022.
I agree.
Travelers go to a shopping centre?
I think it's disgusting. That's what I'm saying to you. I think it's disgusting that a prejudgment in all different agencies are made to form just on somebody's look or their appearance or their name. Or it's disgusting that
And yet,
that's
after
still happening.
speaking, Jim, like, and that's only primary level, like, of course, it's travelers' point of view, it's travelers' point of view, like, but them children have to get bigger, they have to go past.
They grow into it.
They may integrate with the set community on one way or the other, if they're planning on upskilling themselves, like,
That's
and
it.
taking the next step,
That's
you
true.
know,
That's
just being
true.
honest with you.
I have a lady over here.
Hiya, sorry.
Just say who you are and what you do.
I'm Andrea and I'm the interim area engagement lead for mental health. I just wanted to touch on people not wanting to report because they feel nothing will be done. And I suppose that's one way or another a problem many of us face with authorities, for example, sometimes. But I would really urge us to put a lot of work into continuing to report issues that we might have. There may not be an immediate effect to it, and we may feel really disillusioned if nothing happens, because here we are reporting yet something again and nothing happens. But what that does to the mental health, that feeling of powerlessness that we have no voice, I think is not a good thing either. We can, if we continuously report, if we continuously speak up, at the very least, we have done it.
Yes.
Okay, and we're validating ourselves. We cannot control what other people do with that information.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
we can control what we do. And I know in the short term it's really, really frustrating and disillusioning.
It's a trust thing as well.
And I'm not claiming at all to fully understand what the traveling community are going through, because I'm not a traveller, but I'm Austrian and I've lived in different countries, and I've learned, you know, that we are not always accepted either. But I really would encourage us to not stop. And Dennis is over there and he may feel similar in terms of suicide prevention.
Thanks very much for that, Susie.
Just even in, I think it's really, really good conversations going on here, good discussion. Sorry, my name is Susie and I work with Traveller Council Service. Just even in around employment, like I live in the Balbriggan area, right? So there's a lot of travellers living in the Swords, Balbriggan and that extended area. But if you go down to the likes of the Pavilions, you're not seeing members of the traveller community in shops. But I do know of a young lady at one stage, one of Patrick's nieces, who was working in River Island. Now she had to disguise her identity in order to work there. Then she'd be sitting in the canteens and whatever, listening to people, bad talk about travellers, and she's sitting there. And she even found out actually that there was a security code that came over, some number that came over, when members of the traveller community or Roma came into the place.
IC4s, IC6s.
So I mean, how could she, as a young woman, actually maintain that employment? She couldn't. It was having such a negative impact on her own mental health. You know, so you're seeing. I mean.
Again, let's go back to the presentation, what I spoke about in the focus groups with the young parties. It's the fear of it happening before it even happens.
Yeah.
So that's what the internalised oppression is doing. You're hiding your identity because of the fear of being discriminated.
It's constant anxiety.
I know
anticipated anxiety.
a traveller man that came to me, and again, this is only a couple of years ago. I'm not going to name the shopping centre and the locality and where, but he said as part of his induction and his training was with the walk and talkie. If you see Roma, members of the Roma community, and you see members of the travel community at the shop, you radio the next guy down the floor and you say, I see 4s, 3 of them heading your way, that's for Roma, and I see 6s was the travellers. And that was in his induction. And that's Ireland today, what Kathleen and the two girls talked about.
Bring yourself, just say who you are, where you come from.
Lily O'Brien, Travel Sport Worker from just on the discussion of life, I just want to share a positive story. We have a business, and it's a big business that's in Canadian County Wicklow, and they are helping on an awful lot of our young lads and find an awful lot of our young lads. It's called O'Halloran Herbs. So I just wanted to share a positive.
Brilliant. That's important.
And they are, and they're great support.
Yeah, they are in relation with the guards and make that. What's to do with that is the harden.
Yes, yes. I mean, look, it's a
All
well-known.
the chaps have great relationship with the guards because of the harden.
Yeah, and look, you know, sometimes it might be thinking that it's all negative. It actually isn't.
Oh no, it's great to hear positive stuff.
There's a lot of positives. If I look at this county, we've a good population in this county. The main population will be Wicklow Town and Braytown because it'll be the two biggest areas. Outside of that, we have pockets of travellers, Arklow, different parts of west of Wicklow, north of Wicklow, south of Wicklow. But when I started, and it was at a time when it wouldn't be allowed, travellers working with buffers. That's the word that we had back then. I couldn't count in my hand how many travellers were represented in Ireland. You had the likes of Martin Collins, you had the likes of Thomas McCann, Catherine Joyce, and one or two before that. But there wasn't that, and that would be steeped in history. I took an opportunity of, I have my own culture. I kept horses like most travellers did. Wicklow is a traveller horse county of ownership. I done all of that. I done the markets, went to the Ballyogan dump, all sides of weather to get it. You know, I done all of that. I seen an opportunity. I went for it. I was criticised. Elders in my community, even within my own extended family, you know, I became the first community employment male traveller. When they done a survey, 1 year when I was in community employment, they done a survey in each county on travellers on PAYE, PRSI, right? It's a tax. And when I came to Wicklow, it was only 1%, and that was me, because I was paying the form of tax to a cheque I was getting, which my own travellers thought, oh, he's on a cheque now. And many travellers wasn't on a cheque back then, back in 93, 94. And then all of a sudden, we had the training programs that developed. We had blocks of 6 months, blocks of 12 months. And all of a sudden, you done a survey in Wicklow right now this minute. That 1% has gone up to 36, 37%. Because all the time we need role models. And I would say, because I'm saying it because I'm breaking to Wicklow, we probably have one of the best primary healthcare programs out there. I'm not saying it because everybody's here.
Yeah.
But I watched that primary healthcare grow to what it is today. Do you know what I mean? When you have travellers that are out there and have access to travellers and open up information around what we're talking about. 5 years ago, would you think that we're even allowed to talk in the same room, travellers and mental health? Of course you wouldn't. 5 years ago, or even less than that, when we were able to talk about travellers and the dreaded word drugs. I used to go to GAA matches because Wicklow is a hurling county, and some of the elders there, because I am an activist, and they called me to one side, don't talk about that there because that's not a traveller thing, that's a country person. It's not. It was a hidden taboo. And the truth be known, up and down the country, it's not just a Wicklow thing, it actually killed a good population of our travellers. And in the morgue where it's in shame and embarrassment, I'm saying it as it is. The father and mother don't say how my son or my daughter died. He had problems, maybe with alcohol, because alcohol is an Irish thing, but don't wait anything about the tablets or about...
Where if you create the space, people want to talk.
But
people
see,
want to
Susan,
talk.
this is the trust
Need
that
to
I'm
talk.
talking about. This is the trust that we're talking about.
Yeah.
We don't want to see incidents of what them two girls go through in the shopping centre. I know the guards. We are establishing a relationship all the time because the things that we're trying to break is the myth. Is the myth that's out there when you hear the words, travellers have a law within themselves. I never say to myself, okay, you see this on social media. Travellers have a law within themselves. Someone's after coming up with that statement. Okay, I disagree. I'm a traveller, I disagree. I keep it simple. Checkpoint. I'm a traveller in the car. So I have a law with myself. That's what people are saying. I go to that checkpoint with no safety belt. My tax is out, my insurance is out. The guard is pulling in people as they do on the checkpoint. Am I allowed to say that, oh, guard, I'm a traveller, I have a law with myself? Do you think, oh, that's grand, what? Of course. These are, what we're trying to do is to break perception and attitude in an educational way. Right? A superintendent, which I became very, very positive relationship a number of years ago, he's now Pat Ward. Pat myself was at a work seminar in the Glenview Hotel, and I was at the same table, and we were trying to talk about sort of pathways and barriers, and I get into the story about it needs to come from the top down in big institutions like Gardaí, like HSE, because if you have one, that person is going to abuse the power, like what we're talking about today. So I said, if you get a transfer, most guards get a transfer. If you say Letterkenny, I know there's a population of travellers from probably every town, big or small, in the whole of Ireland. Population. So you have a guard in Letterkenny. So he has a bad attitude and a bad experience that he got or she got with members of the travel community. That's there in the head. So all of a sudden, they're getting transferred to Jim down to Bray. Straight away, that guard is bringing the attitude down to Bray, meets with his colleagues, and this is the God honest truth, I'm not just saying because Gardaí's in the room, meets his colleagues and relationship develops. Then he's going to be saying, what are the knackers like in the town? That's how deep I'm saying that. Because that person, and that's what I'm saying about, if you think about the bag of potatoes that you buy, most people buy every week, you're bound to get one or two bad ones. It only takes one. So the up or down. And Pat looked at me and said, we want to establish a relationship with the organisation that you work with. And that's what we do. We have guards now that could be out in the beat. I know Sean is here. Sean will come in, we'd have a chat, uniform and non-uniform. We invite the Gardaí to our summer projects to get the kids to know that, oh, that's Adam, and that's Sean, and that's whoever. It's establishing a positive relationship among our young travellers, because let's put it this way, our young children that are looking at the way their peers are being described among guards, they grow into that. And we want to change. I know it's not going to happen overnight, it's going to happen over a period, because why we're here today, and it's interesting, I should have read out this earlier on, why we're here today, this was a plan of action among the County Wicklow Steering Group, Mental Health Steering Group, weeks and months in advance. So we knew that this was going to come, we knew this day was going to come. But only 2 weeks ago, we actually had the launch of the National Action Plan Against Racism released. 2 weeks ago, 2023-2027. Now, it's not just a specific report on a specific group. It's more broader. It's a 60-page document. But I was looking at parts in it in relation to travellers and what can happen in that strategic time frame. One, the report clearly states that the traveller communities are included in the plan and experience racism and discrimination both at individual and institutional level. The acknowledgement is important that as the plan is implemented, we will be calling for the recognition of inclusion of the travel community in actions to educate racism. Right? Number two, the plan acknowledges that racism is a part of the past, which we're talking about, but most importantly, the future. Working together so that it will be part of a shared future. The travel community have often been trying to address racism on their own, and this has been very, very isolated place to be. This plan has the potential to build solidarity across all communities to work and address racism. 3, there's only 5, but it's important that I call these out to you. For traveller children, which we're talking about today as well, and young people, we welcome the commitment to strengthen the inclusion and anti-racism at all levels of education, including any bias in the education system. This is very important that it affords us the opportunity to call on the Department of Education to support, resource and plan equality of an outcome of traveller children and young people for future purposes. 4, the state is currently developing a response to the housing crisis, again we talked about that here today, and the homelessness. The plan states for ethnic minorities in accommodation and houses experiences while seeking a home must be a recognised and response will be to reduce the risk of homelessness for the ethnic minorities. Bray Travellers Community Development Group, because I've included our name in this because we'll be doing a lot of work for the plan. Bray Travellers Community Development Group will be using this as a part of our advocacy work, which I know that we do a lot here in Bray and the hinterland, for improved housing and accommodation for the traveller community locally. 5, this is the last one. The plan has 5 objectives. To work towards a society in Ireland with vision and with fair, equal and inclusive society which is keeping with our own vision as a traveller movement. This plan will support our continued struggle for equality, human rights and social justice for the travel community, and speaks to all public and access private services, including the new strengthened hate crime legislation that was passed and implemented by government. So I can say to you, 30 years working on the ground as a traveller, I'm starting to see change. Because where did this plan come from? How would we work? Because Paddy Point were very, very important. In 2020, there was a subgroup, a national subgroup that was formed. So we brought the key people, the HSE, on Garda Síochána. But these weren't just middle people, these were the top people from departments. Now, have we ever had something like that before? No. For the first time, this plan was launched not by one minister, but by 4. We never had that before. So all of a sudden, we have a plan. And the thing about the plan, it's worked on time frames. So there's going to be, say, 18 months for Garda Síochána to get that sorted out. 12 months for the HSE to get that sorted out. And so forth and so forth. So I can say to you, it's like me thinking, the 1st of March 2017, that's the day that travellers were recognised as an ethnic minority. Before that, if anyone had asked me, will you ever see the time that travellers are going to be recognised by our state, past and present? And my answer would have been no. Not in my lifetime. And I'm sure, knowing Martin Collins, knowing Catherine Joyce, knowing Thomas McCann, Davy Joyce, these are people that have been around a long time, even with myself. But all of a sudden, that was a massive change. And what we're doing at the minute, I'm sure Parry, you will agree, we're starting to see the little bits of fruits that we're picking up. I'm not saying to you, equality is going to be finished. Travellers won't suffer mental health. Travellers will be a part of equality. I'm not saying to you that this is going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But you know what? We're part of something here now. And that change is coming. I'm looking at, not just at the next generation, where you have a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old. I'm looking at the generation that we haven't even thought about yet within the travel community. And what society and life going to be like for them 20 years from now. Because we've struggled. All of us here, we've struggled. I'm 55 years of age tomorrow. And I go back to all of my life, from exactly the age that all of a sudden I'm a member of this knacker community. Because why was I let down by the Department of Education of any travellers in the school system back then, especially the mainstream schools? Don't give them any education because the perception is they're not going to stay there long enough.
Low expectation.
The question was never asked. You go back to St. Cairns. I went to St. Cairns because of a roadside family. Many of the roadside families, most used to come around. We used to go to St. Cairns. I tell you what I learned. Your cup of soup at 12 o'clock with a bit of fresh bread. That's the education I got. Now,
It's different.
it's different, right? Now we're looking at, I know it's a low percent, but we are a small percent in the overall community. Now we have travellers, just like Pa being a male traveller, he's proud to say, I went back to school. I'm going to Maynooth. Now we see more and more and more of that. We need more and more of road travellers coming from a small community. And that's how we are. I think we're 0.7.5% of the overall population. I know the census, the last one was 2016, we had the results of the 22 coming up. That's going to go bigger than the 36,000, because I know it's more than 36,000. It's anywhere, if it's anywhere between 40 and 45, would it be right?
I'll go 50.
Okay. So now we have the freedom of more and more travellers self-identify themselves. than we ever have before. We're going past that sad period where, and Denise talked about it, her family, self-identifying as travellers, but if there's a hidden way that you don't have to come out and say, I'm a member of the travelling community, or I'm with this well-known traveller that is well-known around the area as being a traveller. Name.
Just by your second name.
And I was just going to come on that, Christine, because it is in association with name.
Because I can actually say to him, I worked in a job for 7 years, and for the 7 years I was in that job, I never knew that I was travellers because my maiden name was Kenny. First, so they took me on for 7 years. So then when I got married, I was getting married, and obviously had to give in the notice and stuff, and the name was going to be changed into my marriage name now.
Yeah.
I had to give up, but when I said it 2 days before I left work. I said, all the time you said me over the table to say we're travellers, we're sitting, and you said, Christine, can you go over to that table, it's like Cleaners again, or it's the knackers again that's over there, can you just go over and wait on? All that time that I said, yes, I will go over, and even though I didn't know the travellers, but I knew that they knew that I was a traveller, still I had to hide the fact that I was a traveller for 7 years because I was in a job. And personally myself, like I find it even with my daughter, like and my son, you try to keep children in education for as long as you can help it yourself. But I'm sorry to say that it's very, very hard for the young people to get a job because they're a member of the travelling community. And plus, it's a very hard job to keep children in education when there still is an awful lot of discrimination going on within the school system as well.
And lack of opportunities.
People will say jobs are plenty, especially in the big major chains like your Tesco's, your Dunn stores, all your local big establishments. I know in Bray, young travellers have applied and been successful in getting jobs, right? And these are jobs just packing your shelves, but going in hiding your identity. Right? Because there's no, in the business sector, they don't have this, are you a member of the travelling community? Are you a member of the Roman community, right? You just go in and there's nothing like that. But here's the catch. Here's the catch. And this is only a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old that's just stacking shelves. They go into the canteen. You have all your people in the canteen. So we're in Bray. So the local topic is travellers fighting last night. Could be down the Strand, could be Ballywaldrum, but it's the local topic. The language that's being used, because you're hiding your identity, you're trying to bond with her, and this is fact. I'm not, because this happens all over Ireland. The word knackers being used. You just think a male or female that's hiding their identity, that's sitting there, listening to that, at the same time they're hiding identity.
Saying during recent, the online racism, like it's really prevalent.
Yeah.
And you go into the comment section of an article, like you seen during COVID, over 300 people attended a funeral. I remember seeing an article like that. And then the following week, over 300 travellers attended a funeral. The traveller piece was put in the ethnicity piece because that's where they wanted the theme, the story to go to, the ethnicity piece.
Or last year when that terrible tragedy in Tala, and I mean the stuff that was written was just absolutely shocking. And pubs in the area, like putting out to locals, you can use a side door. Like there was a pub out in the north side. Now I got the name wrong the last time. I'll get the name right because I wouldn't want to be putting down. They actually had it on their Facebook page proudly. We don't serve travellers. You know, it's shocking. It's shocking.
It's very much, as we said, it's Ireland of today. I'm conscious of time because but I'm also just want to wrap up from my end. Jane, a happy birthday for tomorrow.
Happy birthday!
Have about another 10 years if you're in life expectancy of about another 9 or 10 years.
Make the most of it.
It's based on your stats for a proper man.
I just want to take the opportunity to thanks for coming here today. Like, I'm sure you could have been anywhere else. You know, you could have left at any time. It's a good opportunity to hear from others and the travellers and non-travellers. And I can leave my email address if anyone wanted the PowerPoint. Jim has it, and I've left resources on the table. And all the best. Thank you.
We're almost finished. There is a light lunch, as I call it, sandwiches and tea and coffee. But what I want tonight, like to see, the topic that we've been talking about, You could still talk about it until 6 o'clock this evening or 6 o'clock in the morning. It's that important. I want everyone to mingle, especially when you're getting your coffee and tea, and just mingle among each other, not to stay on in all the sort of one. And I'd like to thank you for coming today. But what I want to finish up, is there anyone else now that has one last thing to say and one last burden to say on the topic that we're talking about?
Can I just leave a positive in there, just for my role? Obviously, I'm in my role last year, and I just like to say I've noticed in the last 6 months a huge increase in specifically young traveller women coming into us and asking for their CVs to be done and getting roles in childcare and looking to progress into education. I've had 3 girls that I'm trying to help go into college, whether it's online or in a course, to go and do their BTEC level 5. So there is the want there, and there is the drive. They just need that extra bit of help. So if somebody does ask, don't shoot them down and say you're not going to get in. They will get in. And there are supports there, even if it be financial or from a voice or spare pair of hands. Could be just a need of a laptop, you know, to help them. You know, it's a little thing.
Exactly what you're saying when we're talking about our teenagers within our travelling community, and as Pa said, our population in an overall sense, it's more percentage young-wise. So if we can positively identify more role models, and just like what you're saying, we'd like to see the doors opening big time. Now, it's all about what identity you win with. If you have to win with a different identity just to get a job and sort of stabilise yourself in that job, well, so be it. I hate it when we have this sort of stigma put on us. 83-84% of the population of travellers are long-term unemployed.
You have this idea that they're not going to get
There's a reason. It's not as if travellers don't want to work. It's about breaking down the barriers to work. And just getting back to quickly about self-identifying a name at a local level. And that's easy. Anyone that's going to do research around travellers and they come to a town like Bray, straight away they'll ask someone in the know-how, what's the most popular name of travellers in Bray? It's Moorhouse. You go down to Wicklow town, what's the most popular name of travellers? It's O'Brien. And then you have an association, you have Connorses, you have Berries, you have Cashes, because I done this with some other travellers years ago. Waterford right up to South County Dublin, and some travellers would know this themselves. There's one big association through blood of different names, surnames. Like, my name is related to Berries, to Cashes, to Connorses, to Moorhouses on my father's side, simply because my mother was never a traveller. But on my father's side, one name O'Brien originally come from Gorey, all of a sudden all of them names. Now you go to the Midlands, and the most popular name you get down there is Joyce, Navan, and you go up to Waterford, right? I think June in one street alone, every second door is a ward.
Well, Brigham Whitehouse.
You know, you go down to Cork,
yeah.
you have a Driscoll.
Well, it was funny, Jim, this morning I parked at the back here. I had to ring your office because I wasn't sure that I came down the main street. And I was parking looking at the park, and then I just looked around, and the 2 women are still here, and I seen them at the parking lot. And I knew I said, hello, and I said, Jim O'Brien's place. Yeah, where are you from? And I knew, and they knew by me, and so they kindly brought me here. So
We're a friendly bunch in the Garden County.
And we want to say thanks very much for coming today, and I also want to say special thanks to Liz and Bill O'Reilly as well for doing so much within the primary area and keeping this all going during the 3 year of the COVID. So we want to say very special thanks to Liz O'Brien and Roland as well.